All right, it is Thursday, my dudes, and you are watching The Sweat presented by DraftKings. Yes, once again, coming to you live from Super Bowl 57 Radio Row here in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, inside the desert. Jesse Cofield to my left, Emerson Latzia to her right. I'm told we have a jam-packed show today, young lady.
We absolutely do. VSiN's Follow the Money crew, Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard, will make their Sweat debut.
Let's go.
As will Michael Lombardi. You're also going to hear from the Athletics' Jeff Howe, who he thinks is going to walk away with the hardware during the NFL Honors Awards show tonight. Plus, former NFL MVP Sean Alexander. You had an awesome conversation.
Yeah, it was really good. We're going to talk some Madden curse.
Yes.
And why he doesn't believe in it, even though it is a thing.
And our very own Director of Race and Sportsbook Operations, Johnny Avello, going to join us. I had a great talk with him, so
yes,
excited for that.
All right, so before we bring in our smorgasbord of guests here, let's hear from the two teams playing in this ginormous football game in Glendale on Sunday afternoon. It's a football game that is at a Rihanna concert, obviously, because the media, we have questions, and players on both the Chiefs and the Eagles have answers.
You've talked for a while about blocking out distractions. What's the toughest part about this week?
Yeah, well, it takes you out of your normal routine. You've got media obligations like this.
Like this, indeed. It's the Super Bowl of football this Sunday, and the media availability might be getting to some of the guys.
How many times has somebody asked me about Travis? Pretty much every question, yeah.
The brothers' storyline has been big this week. A few people are talking about it, and the questions didn't stop on Wednesday either. Even we asked Eagles offensive lineman Jason Kelce if he has dad swag.
I have dad sweat. I've heard dad strength. I've always been a sweater.
Yeah, clearly he misheard the question, so let's ask it again.
Swag. I think I've also had dad swag far before I was a dad.
I respect Jason's style. He's got more of the dad swag with 2 baby girls and a whole lot of other stuff he's got to focus on more than just getting dressed in the morning.
That was Travis Kelce handing out a compliment to his older brother, but the all-world tight end didn't stop there with the kind words. Dallas Goedert, Philly tight end, you're next.
Man, one of the best in the league. He's going to keep taking this tight end position to another level throughout his career.
I'm just happy that Trav knows my name. I've been a big fan of him for a really long time, and just hearing him say anything nice about me makes my day always.
You even had Patrick Mahomes playing Mr. Nice Guy, sprinkling a little love on the Eagles when he was asked about the biggest challenge he will face.
Obviously, I'd probably say the defensive line, just because they're on a historic sack rate.
So clearly he's not as concerned about the Eagles secondary. I wonder how they feel about it.
And we're not really trying to make us single out our group or nothing like that, It's all right, we ready to compete, you know what I'm saying? So D-line is crazy good. We crazy good too.
So whether it's Patrick Mahomes or even his own teammate, Josh Sweat feels this respect is long overdue.
At least somebody, giving us the credit. I feel like we ain't been getting it all. Even though what we've done, we ain't been getting that credit. We can run exactly what we want to run. We don't have to, get fancy. Just line up and play at this point. I'm just ready to go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Sweat. We got two veterans of the Las Vegas sports betting scene joining the program right now. VSiN's Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard, hosts of Follow the Money. Thank you guys so much for being here.
You bet. Great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you in person. I feel like we all know each other from the internet, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, here we are.
Sure, hey, I know those guys.
Yeah, we're real people. It's amazing.
You exist. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. You guys have been here for a couple days, right? Hanging out on Radio Row. What's the experience been like so far?
As it goes, like every single year for the Super Bowl, you're noticing right now is much more crowded than it was earlier in the week. So today and tomorrow are going to be, I'm guessing, from now until later on in the afternoon when shows are still doing East Coast Drive, West Coast, it's going to look like this. So it's busier and busier every single day, leading up to the entire event.
Doesn't look like this when we're live on the air.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you guys just told
Apparently.
us you had to be here at what time?
415.
Oh my.
That's brutal.
430. Yeah.
It's a fun wake-up call.
You guys need
Yeah.
a
Still
coffee.
getting my
Someone get
beauty
them
sleep.
a coffee. Yeah. Seriously.
What do you guys expect next year when it's in Vegas? When it's in your backyard?
Is
VSiN? I feel
this
like it's going to be this on steroids,
Yeah,
right?
times
Yeah.
100.
What do you think, Paulie?
Yeah, totally agree. Pandemonium. I mean, the people that are be coming to town, what the room rates are going to be, the cabanas, what the biggest bill's going to be for the alcohol and get popping bottles, right? I'm going to say 250,000 for the biggest cabana bill. Am I too low?
Where's it gonna
you
be?
may be too low,
Where's it going to
dude.
be? Where's the hot spot?
Stadium swim.
Yeah,
that
that'll
looks
be good.
amazing.
Beach.
Circle
Yeah,
will be
awesome.
amazing
Yeah.
for that, no question. Does it feel too big? It almost feels like, hey, let's have March Madness on New Year's Eve in Las
Right,
Vegas.
yeah.
And it's like the Super Bowl and Vegas. Really, we're going to combine both. But the city, I mean, it can hold it and host it as well as any other. And the prediction here, and this is Captain Obvious checking in. Once it's in Las Vegas, and as long as it goes well, like Las Vegas will become part of the every 3, 4, 5 year rotation.
Yeah, if it's like how the Super Bowls in New Orleans or Miami are out here every 5-6 years. I mean, and speaking of out here, guys, a sports story on steroids. We all wake up this morning and Kevin Durant's been traded from the Nets to the Suns. Now calls Phoenix home. Where do the Suns now, Mitch, rank on your list of title contenders?
I think they have to be considered, and the odds would reflect this, right? The favorite to win the Western Conference. I mean, look at their starting five that they have now, and the first, 4 first-round picks, to me, that means nothing in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you can get Kevin Durant, give up 4 first-round picks every single time.
Yes.
And the fact that they never had to give up Ayton, to me, was huge. So, yes, Bridges was a key guy for them over the past couple of years, but this team now, they have Booker, Paul at the point, Booker, Durant on the perimeter, and, Ayton down low. That is awesome in the Western Conference.
Yeah, Paulie, take a look at their pre-trade odds here. Well, it just went up screen, but plus 1,800 it was before. Now what, plus 425 or something? You were talking before you came on set, too. You're like, imagine having that 18-1 ticket in your pocket right now.
Incredible, right? I echo his sentiments. I mean, I just think even the Kyrie move, Dallas not going to be able to stop people defensively.
Yeah.
We saw what their rankings were now, and then the guys they had to give up to get Kyrie. But we're forgetting, I think, some people how good Durant is.
Yeah.
I don't have to run a play. He's an assassin. So now you put him with Booker and Ayton and Paul, and I think they get over the hump. And not to mention what they are now to win the division.
Yes.
Because that's, as we talked about earlier today, the poor guys who have 400-1 on the Kings to win the division before the year, and that goes bye-bye. So now $1.75 at DraftKings to win the Pacific. I think the Suns win the division, and they'll go to the finals.
I would also say this, to me, I would rather play with Devin Booker than Kyrie Irving any day of the week.
Yeah.
So as much hype as they got with Brooklyn, and the combination of those two players with Harden played 16 games together, and Kyrie is Mr. Unreliable anyway. You don't know if he's going to play, whatever. Booker, as long as he's healthy, he's an awesome player on the court, and now we get to see this potentially with, again, that's just hell of a team.
This move is so good, I don't care what Memphis does.
Really?
Even if you get OG.
What about Denver though too?
No.
I mean, I feel like if Denver's healthy, they could obviously go neck and neck, right?
The
Go
Joker
head-to-head.
is so good. I mean, but overall, I think the Suns, talent-wise, and their power rating is probably higher than Denver's right now.
Think about that top four of Ayton, of Booker, and now you have Durant in there with Chris Paul. I don't know if there's a better top four in the league when healthy, right?
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the Lakers looked good last night for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And then it was totally trumped by what the Suns did. Okay, guys, you really want to go make a run for the title? Well, watch this.
For sure.
Well, you mentioned Kyrie, and we're old enough to remember, right? When Kyrie, KD, and James Harden were on the same team in Brooklyn, right? They played, 16 games together?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I mean, now they're all gone, right? So what do you think that disillusion means for all these other, super teams?
It'll never happen again.
Okay.
You can never turn your organization over to the superstars again and let them call the shots and run things.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Unmitigated disaster. 16 games. They won one playoff series. One.
Okay.
And the ownership finally said, that's it. We're done. No more.
So the era of the super team, do you think it's done here, Mitch?
I would say, well, probably not done, but the era of the players dictating exactly how it kind of, that won't happen again. But also they're absolute they combine Kyrie with Ben Simmons on top of that.
Yeah,
that's the combination. So to me, here's the thing, I think ownership groups across the league now will have to look at this and say, look, let's use the Nets as Exhibit A on why this might not be worth our time.
Yeah, I mean, think about the Nets right now. Like, Sean Marks has rebuilt this team under worse circumstances, you could argue.
Yeah,
but,
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
how much work do they have cut out for them right now?
It's going to take a few years now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to make it work with all these picks that they have, and that's not obviously the. I would take a proven player in the NBA or the NFL over a first-round pick any day of the week.
Yeah, the NBA is like so hit or miss. Which
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Utah Jazz there, and Danny Ainge is just, and we know this from being in Boston forever. It's just like a hoarder of picks.
Yeah.
Like, what,
But if
what
you
are
know, if you
doing?
have enough of them, though, like he
Which
did in
they have
Boston,
like 20 or something
right?
crazy.
And if you get out of that group, if you can get Tatum and
Yeah.
Brown, well then, okay, then that's a hell of a job again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other expectations? You think it's going to get crazy leading up to the deadline today? Like, I think is it 3:00 Eastern time?
Yeah.
I want to say.
Maybe
Like-
the Lakers make another move. Toronto's going to get rid of people. I think the Clippers have to do something now.
Yeah.
And go back to what Phoenix did. So a point guard for the Clippers. Maybe you get Trent and Van Vliet from Toronto. But I
Okay.
think that was a bad performance last night.
Yeah,
You can't
it
lose
really
that game
was.
without Luka. And they had no answer for Dallas shooting threes as well. So I think the
Yeah.
Clippers could make a move.
Yeah, Mitch, who do you think needs to make a move if they want to remain in the title conversation?
To me, it has to be Memphis because I mean, put it this way, their backcourt, when they combine, Morant and Bane, that's one of the best scoring backcourts in the entire league. To Paulie's point, if they could add Anunoby from Toronto, and again, we're talking about picks they have to give up, the front court then, and it's not Brooks, if they would keep Brooks along with Jaren Jackson Jr., who is now odds-on favorite, has been for a while for Defensive Player of the Year, and Anunoby's very good. Like that starting five is very, very good because the combination there of very good defensively in the front court, awesome in the backcourt scoring, plus Jackson provides that element too on the offensive side. I think that's a team that must make a move for a guy like OG Anunoby.
All right, well, you guys, we should probably talk about the game a little bit. The other game, that we're here,
Oh,
the
wait,
Super Bowl.
why all
the
these
Super
people are here?
Bowl, yeah, we could talk basketball all day, but let's talk about this game. The people in the money on the Eagles side right now, all right, favored by 1.5 here. 71% of the handle, 69% of the bets on Philly at 1.5. So most of the guests that we've had up here have been leaning towards the Eagles, but kind of said like Mahomes is the X factor. Like
scary.
everyone's a little afraid of Mahomes here. So, like, Mitch, what do we think? Where do you guys sit on this?
I originally just, followed the money, so to speak, the night after the two title games were done, and when the Chiefs opened up as a favorite, and I saw all this big money coming in on Philadelphia, and I had a chance to grab them at a pick 'em, so I'm like, okay, well, this number appears that it's good. I don't love the bet. I just was, and now today, it's like that's the biggest thing, right? I think Philadelphia is clearly the better team, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes. The other team does. And so that guy is just so good, and I hate to be on the other side of him. So even though I have money on Philadelphia right now to win the game, I'm not. It's not that I love the bet at all.
Probably, what do you think?
I think Philly's the best team in the league, and it's been that way since August. I think the offensive line will be too much. I think they'll have success on the ground with Sanders and Gainwell running the ball. I'm a little concerned about Hurts with the health because you saw the numbers since the injury. Can he hit Brown deep? Can he hit Smith deep? But I think they'll win by a score. And very true, though, about Mahomes. I mean, he has to scare you.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's here every single year and doing this and winning the big games.
Yeah, and definitely a reason why we see Mahomes and Hurts atop like the MVP board here.
But that I don't agree with.
Okay,
I can
so
see,
why don't you agree with that?
Two of the past four have been wide receivers, so.
If the Chiefs win, Mahomes MVP, right, okay, or that Kelsey.
Yes.
I can see several guys winning the MVP for the Eagles if they win the game.
Which it's interesting you say that because then you got Brown at plus 1,800. I mean, Miles Sanders plus 2,200. I don't know why the odds are so long for like Devontae Smith at plus 3,000. The guy's been lights out over the past 6-7 weeks.
Wow.
He's been Hurts as like go-to dude here.
You want to get nuts? How about Reddick?
Okay.
There's a path there too.
Plus 3,000 as well.
It wreaks havoc, and you could. I think it's only happened 9 times with the defensive players won it. But I could see a scenario where he has a couple sacks, forces some turnovers, and they win a game like that.
Like Mitch, what's the move here? Can you find some value on this board? I mean, Isaiah Pacheco plus 4,000, but again, I think you're right, Paul. I think it's either going to be Kelsey or Mahomes if it's on the Chiefs side.
I totally agree. In fact, I don't even like the scenario for me for Kelsey to win the game would be if he catches 10 passes for 140 yards and has 3 touchdowns, but who's throwing the ball to him? That's going to be Mahomes. So it's very difficult for Kupp did win it last year, so it can happen. But I totally agree on the Eagles side. You can make a case for Sanders. You can make a case for Reddick. You can make a case for some of the receivers you brought up. I would even like
Gainwell against the Giants.
2 weeks ago. Gainwell, if we gave out an MVP for that game, Gainwell would have won the MVP against the Giants. So I think there is a sneaky path here for Gainwell to put up good numbers as well.
Goddard can't have 100 yards and 2 scores.
Chiefs are not great against tight ends.
So there's a lot of game-specific props, obviously, tons to choose from. Any team to score 30-plus points, it's -140 for yes. Paulie, do you think one of these teams will get there, or are these defenses just too good?
I could see that.
Okay.
I could see that getting to 30 points. You see where the total's at, sitting at 51. So that could happen. The time of possession thing I find intriguing. Philly looks too easy, don't you think, to win the time of possession battle? Ground it out, gash them on the ground, and control it. I would think $1.40 seems cheap for me with Philly for time of possession. But I could also see a high-scoring game, too.
I mean, in 2 games, Eagles have gone over 30 points both times in those 2 playoff games.
Oh,
So.
there's definitely a scenario where, I mean, this could be kind of a shootout, right?
Yeah.
Especially if, what's the best path to a shootout if one of these teams falls down early? Which team would need to fall down? Probably the Chiefs, right?
You're right, 14-0
Let's
Philly
say it's 14-0 Eagles first quarter, there's a turnover or whatever. Then all of a sudden, that 30-point thing that prop is definitely live because now it's going to be Reed and Bieniemy saying, well, we're not going to run the football. We got to catch up, and we have Mahomes and Kelsey. And so let's just throw it 45 times in this game.
I mean, that benefits those running backs for the Chiefs anyway because Mahomes loves to kind of like dink and dunk to him every once in a while, especially if anything ends up happening and the ankle gets, there's a flare up there.
The ankle.
Yeah, the ankle. The ankle's
Get
fine.
the binoculars out. Let's see.
I was at that game between the Jags and the Chiefs, and I'm like, oh, man, that does not look good. Prediction time, gentlemen. Team and final score, Mitch.
So I'm going to go Eagles 24, Chiefs 23.
All right. So you're going under there.
Yeah.
What do
I'm
you
going
got?
to change my mind from earlier in the week.
Yes.
27.
It's not allowed.
27-19 Eagles. Butker misses an extra point. Cash that ticket.
Wow. Okay.
Missed extra point, cashes, and it's off the upright. So you win 2 bets with 1 kick.
I was going to say, but those props are all over the joint on the DK Sportsbook.
Which one? Which upright?
Go right.
Yeah.
I'll go right.
Yeah,
okay.
They contain Mahomes and get the win.
Mitch, Paulie, it was awesome having you guys on the show.
Thank you.
Great meeting you.
You as well.
Great work as
Same
always,
here.
and good luck with the early wake-up calls, man.
Yeah, wow.
Coming here, you guys are
I'll text
beasts.
you when we start waking up next week.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about
definitely.
this game tonight? You awake?
I may be on Do Not Disturb. I won't get back to you
He
right
won't
away.
answer, yeah.
Okay, we talked a lot here about the odds, all the fun stuff on the DK Sportsbook just now with Mitch and Paulie. So why not hear from the guy who actually makes the odds for DraftKings? Here's Jesse's conversation with Johnny Avello. He did a great job with this.
Me? Let's go.
Who is she?
What's up, everybody? I am here with Director of Race and Sportsbook Operations, Johnny Avello. Johnny, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Jess. It's been a while since I've seen you. And,
I know.
And it's, having babies and...
It's craziness.
So busy, but it's great to be here with you.
It is great. And so you've been here on Radio Row. We're in the midst of all the action. What has your experience been like so far?
My first experience was last year. And when I first walked in, it was like, wow, this is really something special. But to have our VSiN set here and you next to the VSiN set and us having a presence for everyone that just walks in, hits you in the face, the DraftKings logo, it's special.
It's thrilling. It is special for sure. So let's talk about this. The prop menu is extensive for the big game, right? Particularly Super Bowl specials, novelty props tabs. We got a lot going on. What have you seen take some of the most action under that banner?
The props that are taking the most action are the Mahomes over 1.5 touchdown passes because the true prop is 2.5. And so 1.5, you have to lay a little bit extra juice. And Hurts, the same prop, over 1.5. The first touchdown scorer is Kelsey. They love him, first touchdown scorer. But then some of the other stuff, those novelty props and Super Bowl props, they like it. Will a kick hit the goal post? An extra point or a field goal.
Will there be an octopus as one? I mean, wow.
Then, an octopus is not fried calamari.
Right.
It's not that,
Right,
It's not,
right.
So
it's the same player to score the 2-point conversion, which is just incredible. There's only been a few of those over the years. So the line originally opened at 2.5. All right, moved to 1.5 in favor of the Eagles, and we haven't really seen like a lot of movement over the last week. Did that surprise you at all?
When I look at the initial movement on this game, I think it was based on unknowns for the Chiefs. We knew Mahone had the high ankle sprain, but we weren't sure if 2 weeks is going to heal, and I don't think it does. I think it takes a good month, 6 weeks. So he'll be out there. He'll be better than he was for the AFC Championship game, but he will not be 100%. And then we had, receivers that were questionable. There was concussion. So I think that was part of that movement, because you're not going to get the worst of it. This is way the better was feeling. Hey, if I take the Eagles now and I'm taking a plus, it's never going to go back that way. So I'm getting the best value I'm going to get on the game. Then when it hit 2.5, some of those guys, it started to show, and through newspapers and social media, that those guys were going to be playing. There was a good chance they would play, some of them. And so then the line moved back a little bit, and now it's very stable at 1.5. Hasn't moved from 1.5 now in about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, do we think it could move unless some big news comes out, or you think it's pretty solid?
I don't know if it's solid at 1.5. I could see either a tick down to 1 or a tick up to 2. We're still heavy on the Eagles. It's not like they're letting the gas pedal off on the Eagles. So we're about 70-30 split.
Yeah, I was going to say, where are you seeing the majority of the money coming in on that, like spread, money line total? Eagles?
Eagles spread 70-30. Money line's much closer, and the total's all over.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the total, sitting at 51, the last 4 Super Bowls have gone under the total. Do we think it continues? What do you think?
Well, let's not look at the last 4 Super Bowls. Let's look at this season in the playoffs. The week wild card weekend, those games mostly went over. Every game since then has gone under. So I think the sharps are looking at the under in this. I think they're waiting to get a key number like 51.5, because 51 is the key number. So if you can go under 51.5, I think that would be a play for them. And I think that's what they're waiting for. The general public, they're going to continue pounding that over.
So we think maybe Vegas has made its choice, just where the money's coming in. Eagles. Do you lean Eagles in this one just personally? What do you think?
Bookmakers aren't necessarily good handicappers.
That's fair. That's fair. Fair calls are fair, Johnny. How about any big wagers? Have any big wagers come in over the last week? Have we seen anything cool?
Multiple 6-figure wagers. That's just common. Yeah. The 7-figure wagers, we've taken quite a few of those in the past. They'll probably show up more closer to game time. Remember, there's 2 weeks in between games, right? There's a lot of college basketball. There's a lot of pro basketball. There's some golf down the street here, Jess. So, there's a lot to wager on. I mean, I don't want to put my money up exactly right now when I know the line's not going to move much. So I'll wait till the weekend to put up my $1 million bet.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Johnny. Appreciate having you here.
You're welcome, Jess. Thank you.
Welcome back to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. We have a very special guest joining the program now, the illustrious Michael Lombardi of VSiN, our carpool buddy.
Yeah, we love spending mornings with you.
Yes,
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for giving me lifts. I appreciate you.
Are you kidding me?
Why do you always get shotgun, though? I don't understand that. Why?
I try to stay away from you as much. I've offered Jess I would sit in the back, but she wanted to stay away from you, too. Everybody in the car
scatters.
We're trying
to just put as much space as we possibly can.
I don't hate it, though. I get a lot of room around me, you know?
Yeah, because people are trying to stay away. You're no stranger to Radio Row, Michael.
No, this is my first time actually ever being here.
Really?
Yeah.
So you are a stranger to
this is it. Yeah.
Then hello. Here we are. What do you think so far?
I mean, it's interesting. I never thought there were this many stations that would actually, I did a bunch of them yesterday. Some, smaller stations. It's awesome. I mean, it's just the impact of the NFL. One of the things I wrote about it, I have a book coming out called Football Done Right, and I talk about the impact of television. And there's really 3 people that I thought have impacted this game outside of the players, and that was Howard Cosell on Monday Night Football, which really changed the landscape for advertising for the NFL. Brent Musburger on the NFL Today doing what he did, and then, of course, the great John Madden. And I think they are here in this room kind of have stirred it all up. And Cosell was, when he first got hired by ABC, the only reason ABC got Monday Night Football was because that they had no programming. CBS and NBC had Rowan and Martin. They weren't giving that up for football. CBS had Andy Griffin, the Gunsmoke. They weren't giving that up for football. And so ABC got stuck with Monday Night Football, and then it just boomed. And so I think the power of the coverage is what makes the game so great.
Nothing about the Dennis Miller days in the Monday Night Football booth?
Well, they try to recreate. Nobody could recreate
No.
Cosell. You know, Cosell was just so unique. I say this on my show all the time. If Cosell used to say to the guys, if we see it, we have to say it. He hated the jockocracy, is what he called it, which is where former players would protect former players. And so he was very outspoken. And when the first game he did, Cleveland, in the Cleveland Stadium, when they against the Jets, I mean, ABC switchboard lit up because he was being very critical of players and all that, and yet for as many as the switchboard lit up in his favor, against him, it kind of created that lure to come back. And I remember as a kid, you know, he would do the halftime show, and that would be the only time you could see highlights of the games of your teams that you loved, you know, and so you stayed awake. I remember trying to stay awake for it because, you know, I had to go to bed because I had to go to school. So the impact of that Monday night, and then that led into the advertising. I mean, that's how Miller Lite actually became a national brewing company, is because they bought advertisements on Monday Night Football. And they exploded because they brought jocks into it. And remember all those scenes, and, you know, and that they became this little brewery into a national brewery. They wanted to compete with Anheuser-Busch.
I was just distracted by the ring on your finger, actually.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's very nice. I can't wait to possibly wear that later.
Yeah, well, you got to work in the NFL to get one of these. I don't know if that's going to happen for you. I just hate to break that news
remember
to you.
what we talked about yesterday? I'm a coaching minor.
Yeah.
Okay, I was a coaching minor at UCF, so
But it took you 5 years to graduate, so we don't know if we would want you to.
I'm not too far behind you here. Hey, Michael, this game on Sunday, which way are you leaning right now? You got the Philadelphia Eagles here, 1.5-point favorites. I think total currently sitting on DK Sportsbook at 51.
You know, I have been pretty much tracking towards Philly all week, the last 2 weeks, only because I think when you study what has given the Chiefs problems over the season, it's been really good defensive fronts. And I think the Eagles have the best defensive front that the Chiefs are going to face. When you look at the Bengal games, they've played the Bengals 4 times over the last two years, 3 times last year, and then twice last year and twice this year. So in those games, the Bengals defensive front have created problems for the Chiefs. But being said that, the games have been 3 points or less. They've all been decided. The Chiefs are 1-3 in those games, and they won with that field goal because of the return. I think Mahomes is going to have to play above even as great as he is. I just think the Eagles' defensive front can control the game, and I like the Eagles, and I've been trending that way. I hate betting against Mahomes. I think it'll be an over game. I think both teams will move the football. But I just think at the end of the day, the Eagles' defensive front will be able to win the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I know. And like Jesse, we were talking about it yesterday too. So much attention, I think, is on these defenses. And you know, the AFC leader in sacks with the Chiefs, 77 on the Eagles side.
77-55.
Yeah, but as we've mentioned, like yesterday, I mean, these offenses are tied for the top 2 scoring offenses
1 and
like
2.
in the league.
Right,
so I can see it going either way.
But the kryptonite for offensive football is defensive line. And so the Eagles in the regular season had 70 sacks. 60 of them came from the defensive front. They didn't have to blitz.
Okay.
So when you know that, and you know that you can play zone behind it and you can rush 4, and I think the Tennessee game this year is the perfect example of that. So Tennessee goes into Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. Kansas City was coming off a bye, just like this game here. And even though Kansas City moved the ball up and down the field, Tennessee had Malik Willis playing quarterback. They got a first down with 5 minutes into the second quarter. They didn't get another first down until they got one more first down for the rest of the game. And yet they got that game into overtime.
Yep.
And it took Mahomes 2 scrambles. He threw the ball 68 times in that game. It took 2 scrambles for him to get the ball in the end zone. And they were able to win it in overtime. That front of Tennessee dominated the Chiefs' offensive line. And so for me, that's where I kind of go back. Yeah, they'll get yards. The longest play in the Tennessee game was 33 yards by McCall Hardman. So if you don't give up big plays to Mahomes and you make him have to work it down the field and force him to have to stand behind the offensive line, I think it becomes a harder game.
Okay.
So is quarterback the only position that you think the Chiefs have an advantage over the Eagles? Or like when you're looking at these 2 rosters, what do you think?
I think that's the only one, yeah.
Okay.
I think the Eagles are the more well-rounded team.
Okay.
You know, I think the Eagles I think both secondaries are susceptible to passing. You know, the Chiefs play a lot of man-to-man. The Eagles are try to play more zone. And, but the fronts are what controls the game. I mean, Chris Jones is really a dominant player for the Chiefs. He's got to have a big day. The problem is the interior of the Eagles' offensive line is really good, so they can neutralize. If he doesn't impact the game, then you got to believe that Hurts can make some throws on the outside. I think this is more of a throwing game than it is a passing game. I think Hurts is going to have to make plays throwing it against man-to-man coverage.
All right, what about Andy Reid here? Like, in your mind, where does he rank among best offensive minds in the history of the game, Michael?
Bill Walsh told me, my first year in the league in 1984, he told me very few people can coach the quarterback and even fewer can evaluate him. And that has been true. And there's very few people on planet Earth that can do that. Andy Reid's one of those people. So no matter where he's been, he's always had a great quarterback. It's not just happenstance. It's because he understands and identifies what he needs for his offense. When he first went to Kansas City, he traded for Alex Smith, who was not having great seasons in San Francisco. He did with Jim Harbaugh, but it was rather inconsistent. They drafted Colin Kaepernick over him. And then he gets Alex Smith, and they're good, but they can't win that big game. And then even with Alex Smith, he trades for Patrick Mahomes. Remember, the Buffalo Bills, who didn't have a quarterback, gave them that pick to pick Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Okay? So his ability to recognize talent and then develop talent is why he's a Hall of Fame coach.
And I know you really appreciate history. Have you heard the story about the time he once denied John Wayne extra meatballs back in his catering days? He was always told when players come in, when big-time professional athletes come in, give them as many meatballs as they want. John Wayne comes in. John Wayne wants some extra meatballs. He says, "Sir, I can't do that." And he was only given 3 meatballs.
I did not hear that story. I did not know that.
Yeah,
only you would know that.
Yeah.
Well, it's also funny.
That really stuck with you, like,
Yeah, I
Is it
really
the
like
meatball
meatballs, and I'm also
He's hungry.
I also have an affinity for food, just like Andy Reid does.
Okay, well, when Andy Reid took over in KC, obviously he didn't retain Nick Sirianni there as an offensive assistant. Is that something that?
No, I mean that's
Nick
a no story.
He's got a little. Really, he
Yeah,
said
I mean,
he's got a little chip on his shoulder
yeah,
about
but
it.
look, the NFL is filled with. The NFL is not a league of fairness, right? It's a league of, I haven't worked with you, I don't know you, I'm not hiring you. Nobody gets a fair balance, right? When a new coach comes in, he wants to bring his people. It's like, I got to have my people. There's no based on merit. There's no based on the interview. So I think Nick's, I think he's using that as kind of a motivating factor. But I give him credit. Look, he was coaching a position, and then he had to go to the Chargers and be an offensive assistant. So he took a step back when he went to the Chargers, and then he worked himself back up. So it's just the nature of the business. If you complain about it, then you don't understand the business. It's just that's the way it is. A new coach comes in. Even when teams recommend, hey, I think you should talk to this coach, I think he's really good, the new coach has to have the latitude to be able to say, I don't want that coach. And that's just the business we've chosen.
All right, Sean Payton's the new coach in Denver. How much work does he have ahead of him to turn that team around, and can he fix Russ?
I think that really it's a good team. I mean, he takes over a good team with a good running back. If the running back Williams comes back healthy from his knee injury, the defense is fairly good.
Defense. They were getting
he'll make
pissed
this
at Russ
team.
all season.
He'll make
Yeah,
this
they were
team.
yelling at him.
He'll make this team really competitive. The challenge he has is, can he get Russ to do what he wants him to do? Can he get Russ? When you get, old, it's tough to teach old dogs new tricks, So Russ is going to have to buy into what Sean's doing. Because Sean's not going to buy into what Russ is doing, right? Russ is going to have to buy in to do what he has to do. And the concern you have when you're talking about older players is their ability to want to get hit. Right, so Russ, and last year in Seattle, one of the things that was concerning when they made the move was that it was the lowest yards he'd ever run for. He ran for 183 yards in Seattle. He didn't want to run, and when you take away that running, he becomes a little quarterback in the pocket. And if he won't step up in the pocket, it's a problem. I think Sean's going to try to manage it as best he can. I'm sure he will. It'll make the team much better.
With as much
He's
money
already
as they're giving him.
He's already trying to lay down the law. You saw he was asked about the fact that Russ has his own
that's
coach
done.
in the building. He said, no, haven't heard of that, foreign to me, not going to happen, not going to fly.
Michael reminds me a little bit of the Alex Guerrero, Bill Belichick thing, didn't want
but
Brady's
Alex
team
Guerrero
there,
wasn't
right?
involved with coaching. He was involved with rehabbing.
Okay.
So that's a whole different story. And Alex Guerrero was a huge asset for our program there, because he helped rehab other players, whether it was Gronk, whether it was Deion Lewis, whether it was anybody, Rob Ninkovich. It was, he was really good for that. He was a good part of our program. So that's different. Whereas you're talking about a guy coaching a position outside of the coaches. That ain't going to happen. That should never have happened. I mean, if Nathaniel Hackett, he should have eliminated that right away. And yet when you do that, when you give that entitlement to a player, you then create a division within your own organization.
Well, speaking of the Pats, we did hear Tom Brady and Bill Belichick's like chopping it up on Tom's podcast.
You listened to it, Michael.
I listened to the whole thing, Emerson. I didn't just do the Cliff Notes.
Version.
Yes.
Who tweeted out quotes?
So when you listen to the whole thing, okay, so do you think that the news about this rift and stuff was overblown, or
of course, I've always said that.
Okay, overblown. So
it's always overblown. It
all
was
right.
always a media-created story. You know, the worldwide leader loves to do that. You know, that's how they get clicks. And
We
so,
don't do that here.
No, I know you don't. You never overreact. I understand that.
Never.
I think to me, there was always great mutual respect by one another. They understood that without each other, they couldn't get to where they needed to go. I say this all the time. The great Don Shula is the winningest coach in NFL history. He's got more wins than anyone. He went 4 consecutive years with Dan Marino without going to the playoffs. It takes 2 to tango. It's more than just having a great. Warren Moon went to 1 conference championship game. He's in the Hall of Fame. He threw for 1 billion yards, right? They never went anywhere. They had one of the greatest teams of all time in the Houston Oilers, but they never got to a Super Bowl. It takes more than just a great player at quarterback.
But speaking of a great player at quarterback, too, Aaron Rodgers, is it time for him to split from Green Bay? Is it time for these two parties to go their separate ways?
We'll see what he thinks after the 4-day darkness retreat in the deprivation
he's
chamber.
turning into Andy Dufresne. I mean, Andy Dufresne played music to get into the damn darkness thing. I don't know how. I don't understand it. Like, why does he went down in that tunnel and he came out and Andy escaped. Maybe that's really the precursor to what he's going to do. He's going to go through the tunnel and he's going to end up on the other side with a bar of soap. I guess I have no idea.
That's incredible. All right, let's wrap with your Super Bowl prediction. Who wins? What's the score?
I just said on my podcast, the GM Shuffle, also sponsored by DraftKings, I said 30-24 Philly. So I like that.
You can change that here, though. You can
no,
do something
I'm not
different
going to
on our
waffle.
show.
I'm not going to be like you. I'm not going to be. My grandson Dominic, he's good at that. He picks the game before the game, and then at the fourth quarter, he decides who he's picked.
I love his style.
Great.
That's my kind of kid.
He's
Got
really good at doing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could flip at any moment too. You know.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's got that crystal ball.
I love that. Michael, thank you so much for being
Oh,
here
thank you
and
for having me.
agreeing to put up with Emerson.
Yeah, I love
really,
the ride in the morning.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing.
It's the
We
best
really
part of my
appreciate
day
that.
every day.
Yeah. All right, Emerson, you also caught up with the Athletics' Jeff Howe. You talked about who you think is taking home the hardware for NFL honors, so let's take a look at that.
Sounds good.
All right, everyone, with one of my very good friends here, Jeff Howe of The Athletic. It is damn good to have you here. Like, we were texting yesterday, and you're like, you're in Arizona, you fraud? I'm like, yeah, dude, let's link up,
But last
man.
time we talked, you said you weren't going to be here.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I wasn't quite sure, like, what the hell was going on. Our plans are always changing, man. But I'm glad that our paths have linked up. I mean, you cover every team in the NFL. You've been to multiple Super Bowls. What I want to do right now is I want to dive into the awards that are going to be announced on Thursday night. So right now, your pick, Jeff, for MVP would be who? You have 5 guys to choose from here. And 2 of the candidates, 2 of the finalists are playing in this game on Sunday.
It's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's the best player in the league. The stats are incomparable for basically anybody else. I mean, I thought Joe Burrow made a really hard charge at Mahomes late in the season. Might have even been playing better than Mahomes. But you look at the stats and the overall production, Mahomes just had the better year. Yeah. And it wasn't all that close. So it's got to be him.
Okay. This is where I get a little fired up when I'm talking Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Because, and I think we talked about when we were in Kansas City together for the Jags-Chiefs game. And I'm like, Doug Peterson is Coach of the Year. What he did with the Jags, the mid-season turnaround, the fact that the culture there, just the environment around that team, and you've done many features like on the Jags, no Pro Bowlers on that team. Who was your Coach of the Year? And then some people go Dable, and I don't know why the hell people even bring up Shanahan. That's a damn talented team no matter who's under center.
Well, you're going to hate my answer then because I'm going with Shanahan.
No, dude,
because
you can't do that.
He was the best coach in the NFL this season. Like, if you were going to take one coach to lead your team this season, it was Kyle Shanahan. I think he set the standard for coaching greatness. I mean, the job that he did, I understand, like, he's had the most talented team.
But it was a system thing, you know? That's why you can plug in a second. That's what I'm saying. It's a system thing. So, like, people look at the, but second string, third string quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant. Bro, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, look at that backfield, Brandon Ayuk. The hell no. You couldn't be more wrong.
But it's his system. That's why it's so successful. I mean, if you were going to take a team and run an offense, you know, last year, of course, you'd go McVay. They had their issues this year. right now, Shanahan has replaced McVay. Maybe not over the long term, but this year, his system was the best in the league, and that's why they were able to sustain after the QB injuries, after other injuries on defense. They weren't full strength at any point in the year. But this award is it's kind of the dumbest award.
Do you vote for these?
I don't.
You don't?
So
Okay,
that's why
good,
I can let
I'd
it
be
fly.
really pissed off right now.
But this is why this is the dumbest award, because every voter has like a different standard as to what it means. So like, I think Kyle Shanahan was the best coach in the NFL this year. Just the best coach. But Doug Peterson, I think, did more with less. And him and Daboll, I mean, I think Daboll's probably going to win the award. There's just too much buzz to think it'll go anywhere else. And they greatly exceeded expectations. But the other side of that is, so did the Jaguars, and the Jaguars won 8 of their last 11.
Oh,
and,
so good. They have the most beautiful quarterback in the league.
And you're totally impartial on this, so I appreciate your objectivity.
All right, so MVP is like the quarterback award. Give me Offensive Player of the Year. Who do you think takes it home?
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I was going to say that. This seems like a no-brainer here.
Yeah, I mean, where are you going to look? Are you going to look at the quarterback? Are you going to look at the receiver? I mean, I thought Tyreek Hill was the favorite for probably 3 months, but Jefferson just had, talk about Mahomes having the best stats and being incomparable. It's the same thing with Jefferson against Hill. I mean, you could look at Josh Jacobs or, Saquon Barkley, guys like that. And they had, Jacobs especially had a tremendous year. But Jefferson, what he did with that offense, continuously getting the other team's best shot. He had one of the best moments of the year in that comeback against the Bills. And again, the stats just speak for themselves.
Okay, Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you like?
So I think the award's going to go to Nick Bosa. And more often than not, it's a pass rusher. I remember when I was covering the Patriots in 2019 when Stephon Gilmore won the award, he was just the 3rd defensive back in a quarter century to win that award. So you almost have to take the defensive backfield off the table, because sacks are just that sexy number that everybody's chasing after, and Bosa was the best pass rusher this year. If it were my vote, I would go Micah Parsons, because he's that chess piece. He's a unique player. The amount of things that they can do with him, dropping him into coverage, rushing the passer from the edge, from the middle. I think he is the best defensive player in the year. So I would go with him, but I understand why Bosa is going to win.
Like, opposing offenses will change their entire game plan because of Parsons.
Absolutely.
In Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, he's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants on the field. Played through injuries at the end of the year and was still dominant. I just think he's the best defense. If I were taking one defensive player right now to start a team with, I would start with him.
Welcome back to the Sweat presented by DraftKings, but don't sweat it. I'm Jesse, he's Emerson, and right now, we have done the research for you for Super Bowl 57 props, so that's why you're not sweating it. Today's topic, rushing and receiving props. So in other words, projected combined in both rushing and receiving. So let's start with the Eagles. Let's take a look here. Okay, so A.J. Brown, he's got a game-high 72.5-yard rush and receiving total. He reached at least 70 yards in 6 straight games to close out the regular season, but those 2 playoff games have been pretty quiet for him. So we'll see. Miles Sanders, 67.5. We don't know. He has gone under that in 5 of his last 8 games. So TBD if he'll make that happen.
Yeah, and he's plus 2,200 again for Super Bowl MVP.
Sure. Kenneth Gainwell, seen a lot of him, but the under's hit in 6 of 11 games for him. So should we talk Chiefs then?
Yeah, I would love to do that. Chiefs rushing and receiving yards totals here. Let's start with Isaiah Pacheco. So this is the rookie. Got a team high 68.5-yard rushing and receiving total here. And he's logged what? Like, I think his last game out, he logged a 57% snap share, which also allows, at least on the fantasy side of things, to put up some great numbers if you want to get in on the DraftKings Millie Maker. $1 million to first place there.
Sure. He has gone under the total in 2 of his last 3 games, though.
Indeed, he has. Jerick McKinnon, a guy who's under, has hit in 10 of 15 games this season, 43.5 rushing and receiving yards total. That under, by the way, includes the last 2 games, but I don't have the touchdown props. Anytime touchdown scores like pulled up in front of me here, but that is a dude who had a nose for the end zone over the last second half of the season. If he was on your fantasy team, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about.
A lot of people think who we've had up here, though, have said they think McKinnon's going to have a big game.
Yeah, indeed. Running back is going to be big for both of these teams. So he's plus 180 as Tom Glennon, our producer, gets him here, plus 180 to score a touchdown. touchdown.
Plus 1,200 for first
It's
touchdown.
incredible. This is live TV.
Plus 1,200 for first touchdown. Okay, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, you know who scored a boatload of touchdowns during his playing days?
Please tell me.
Sean Alexander,
Let's
everybody.
go.
A former NFL MVP, right?
Yep.
He has played in a Super Bowl. He's still a little upset that he did not win said Super Bowl.
But he's really special because he's the first player
Bingo.
to be featured on both the covers of Madden NFL and NCAA football.
Yep, so I went ahead and asked him where exactly he has those hanging in his house.
They're in the weight room.
They're in the weight room. Okay, so
Yeah.
you just kind of look at yourself as motivation as you're like squatting and busting out curls.
Nah,
You're like, hell yeah,
it's like as
bro.
you walk in, and so like sometimes if I do shows like via there, I'll
Yeah.
go into the weight room and shoot it there, and everybody says, "Oh, that's the ultimate flex."
It is the ultimate flex.
And that's
Get
what
it?
I put in the weight room.
All right, how much do people bring up the Madden curse with you?
They do a little bit, but it's not like.
Are you a
if there's-
believer in it?
No, there's 32 quarterbacks, 32 tailbacks. At
Yeah.
least back when I was playing, 64 guys.
Okay.
50 of them are going to miss at least a game.
Looking back on it though, if you had the choice, would you choose to not be on the Madden cover?
No.
Okay.
I still get
Okay.
paid for Madden. That was 12 years ago.
Yeah,
The checks are still rolling.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No. Don't be foolish.
Yeah. Who's the best running back in football right now, in your opinion?
Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb. Those
Okay.
three.
Wow. You didn't have Derrick Henry on that list?
Well,
Bama
I
guy?
always think that I show favoritism to the Bama guys, so
Okay.
they're like in their own little level.
Yeah, you did already with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so they're in their own little level. So I can go Najee and
Yeah.
Derek
Yeah.
and Josh Jacobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and everybody would be like totally understood.
Yeah.
So I try to balance it out. So it's like there's my AFC and then the Bama guys with the rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who's winning this game at the Rihanna concert on Sunday?
Definitely Jay-Z.
So yeah, we're starting to hear some rumblings. Like, does he show up?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Do we have inside information?
No, we do not. Yeah, we do not. I think that the Eagles, trenches, they move really, really amazing.
They seem to have an edge over the Chiefs in every department except quarterback. You know what I mean?
And I think that that's okay because their quarterback's no slouch.
Yeah,
you know what I
no,
mean?
he's
And
not.
So,
He's likely the
gonna lead
MVP.
team. Yeah, he's going to lead the team the way that team needs to be led. And so I think the Eagles got a more than healthy shot to be dominant.
And I know that we've talked about all these young stars like around the league, and I know you found a cool way to help them on and off the field. So I want you to tell us more about this program, this really neat program that you've helped launch.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, I met a group called Stand Together Foundation, and it's about 700 of some of the most successful businessmen, women, and philanthropic leaders in the country. And they said they were willing to put their money and skills behind anybody that was doing good to affect poverty and the effects of poverty.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, man, I love that. I met this group called Cafe Momentum, and where they started talking about changing the juvenile justice system, and it's a paid internship for kids that were put in juvie instead of being called throwaways. They put the ecosystem around them, and so we've seen these kids. Recidivism is normally like 50%, which means they go back to prison. But there's about 11. And I said, let's put one in every NFL city. And so we're in the process of that now. And then my other heart is really about stirring guys to figure out like what's their why. Why do they want to? What cause do they want to be a part of? And so we created the principle-based management program. And it's we're going to go through the NFL and kind of say, hey, if you wanted to go use your skill set or your name to go impact communities, do you know which one you would? And how can we partner with all these other organizations to go do this? And it's going to be pretty cool. We're at the beginning stages now of walking through with the whole NFL team, and I'm with them already, inspired, changing everybody in the Legends community. But partnering with Stand Together and getting other groups like Cafe Momentum and all the other things, it's going to be really cool to see the NFL touch so many lives, so many communities all over the country.
So you were one of 9 kids, and then you've got your hands full too with kids.
Yeah. We just found out. My wife and I are just not telling everybody. We're pregnant with baby number 13.
Holy cow! What? What you
People
like to
get
do?
nervous.
What do you like to do in your free time, Sean?
Exercise.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God! So it's like you and like Phillip Rivers could like get your families together and field an entire like
play a game.
start like
Play a game.
starting
Without a
11 on
doubt.
both sides.
Yeah.
Well, dude, congratulations,
Yeah, so
man.
it's good,
That's
man.
awesome.
It's good, yeah. And I'm a big believer in family
Yeah.
first, man. And
It's like right when they can start walking, you bring them into your gym and you show them your Madden cover and your NCAA football
Who
cover.
wants to flex? You know.
Your new best friend.
You
Good
know
times.
what? He is a close second to you.
Oh, wow.
And maybe Michael Lombardi, who is tied now with Sean Alexander, because
Thank
Michael
you.
Lombardi is so nice to me.
Amazing. All right, that's a show. We are going to be back for our final day live at Radio Row.
Yep.
Going to
Our
be fun.
Friend Jeff Ulrich is back. Sportsbook odds maker veteran Dave Sherapin will be here. Sean King, Big Mike Golick.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. We can't
Okay.
wait to do it. We'll be back tomorrow
We're
at
out.
11 a.m.